So I'm just gonna get started. There's gonna be noise all around. There's gonna be people back and forth. There's gonna be pancakes being cooked up here. For those of you joining us from wherever you're at, we are in Backus, Minnesota, and we are by a lake that I grew up coming to since I've been in utero. It's a really sacred place to me and my family, and grateful to be here by the water. And we're here for water healing and resistance, water resistance and healing in our bodies. And I'm going to be joined by several water protectors who are going to share stories about how they've been experiencing healing in their bodies in this work of resisting Line 3 and other pipelines, including Line 5 and the Dakota Access Pipeline. Wow, I mean, I think what it comes down to is, like, if we need anything right now, it's healing. And water is one of those things. Water truly is life, and it's amazing how slowing down our bodies and connecting with the water really furthers along our healing. And so I'm excited to be sharing with you, and we're moving at a little different pace here, and maybe there's some healing in that. All our go and all of our starting things at certain times and ending things at certain times. I want to respect your time, but I also want to heal from just all the this is how it has to be kind of ways. So that being said, again, this is being recorded, and we'll share it at a later date. But wanted to start by inviting everybody to breathe. And I'm going to tell my friends here what we're up to. We're getting started. People are showing up. And Shanai.
Hi.
Shanai's here. Shanai.
Should I pop in for a
Sure.
second?
Yeah. But if folks want to, if folks around here want to, if we all want to breathe together, we could invite anybody who's watching out there to breathe with us.
They're making more coffee inside too.
I'm very interested in that. But anyway,
That's welcome. You can also grab coffee. So let's just start. Does anybody inside want to breathe a little bit?
They ran straight to the coffee maker.
Yeah.
I want to breathe.
Yeah.
Jordan's ready to breathe. I guess we are breathing, but let's breathe together.
With intention.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
Yeah.
I wish everybody who's watching could see exactly what we see. Maybe show them the lake.
Yeah. So here's the lake.
He's got his live stream going with Intertwine. And so he's going to lead a breathing.
We're going to breed healing.
Did I mention I've been riding a lot?
Yeah.
I'm really tired.
All right, friends. So wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, maybe you can just draw your attention to your body, and maybe we can rest for a moment. Just begin with some deep breaths. And just noticing. I'm noticing in my body that I'm a little anxious and a little wound up. It's almost like, water torrent, or that kind of whirlpooling effect of water. I'm feeling a little bit of that, but I'm going to say welcome to that. And I'm going to allow myself, and I hope you can allow yourself, wherever you are, to just accept what is going on in your body, say welcome, and to connect to the breath. And I want to start by recognizing this place, Oxyoke Lake. Nibi, the water, in these lands, the land of the Anishinaabe Akin. I want to express gratitude and care, both for the water and for my Indigenous siblings, especially those of the Leech Lake Band, which is not far from where we're at right now. And so as we breathe, maybe we can think of water pulsing through our bodies, through our veins, in our lungs, water carried on breath. And I think about my tradition, my Judeo-Christian tradition, and how Jesus talked about himself as living water. And I think about the way of being that he modeled, which was full of care and living close to the land. And I think about that, and I think about those words, living water, and I think about what the Anishinaabe grandmothers teach, which is water is life. And I know these are the same words. And breathing, I can connect to that living water within me, to the water that is life within me. I'm grateful for this water, and I ask that it would continue to be enough for me, and that it would strengthen me to care and protect. So I invite you to maybe think upon that water and allow gratitude to fill you. Maybe there's a particular body of water that you feel connected to. Maybe in your heart you can bow to that water in gratitude and care. And with that, we can draw our attention back to this place, wherever you are listening in, and you can keep breathing. And I'm just going to invite now, this gathering is going to be a number of water protectors just sharing how they're experiencing healing in their bodies. And it's going to be almost open mic style. So yeah, you get to enjoy that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Twisty chairs. But maybe Shanai, do you want to just kick us off and tell us what you're up to with your ride and
Sure.
and how you've been experiencing healing in your body in this resistance work and this caring for water that you've been up to?
Sure. So first of all, that was a really beautiful centering. I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad that you did that, because I was also feeling a little bit of anxiety. You know, I started this bike ride 4 days ago now, I think, in Superior, intending to ride along the entire route of the Line 3 oil pipeline with a pretty loose agenda. You know, I mean, I want to see these river crossings that the pipeline is crossing. I want to take them in different ways. I want to express gratitude like you did just this morning. And then also bring people along in different ways. So there are people kind of popping in and out of the ride. We're stopping to visit with some folks along the way. And at the end, you know, we'll have documented the journey in different ways. So there's a number of different artists who are along on the journey, who I hope some of them will sit down with you for a little bit to talk about their work. But overall, this relates to this topic of healing in that, you know, I grew up in Aiken County in the town of Palisade, which is not far from the place where Enbridge is intending, one of two places where Enbridge is intending to cross the Mississippi River with their Line 3 oil pipeline. And since late last summer, I've been living there at Aking, which is a parcel of land that is owned by the Aking Land Trust, which is an Anishinaabe word that means the land to which the people belong. So I've been staying there and trying to be of service to the movement to stop the pipeline in different ways, as an artist, as somebody who organizes, especially using cultural organizing, thinking about the ways that culture and story are part of what connect us to a place and how we can change those relationships in part by living in a different story. So that's what I've been up to. And personally, I still am working through a lot of things about my relationship to that particular landscape there in Aiken County. I grew up there not really knowing where I was. I mean, I knew things about where I was. I spent a lot of time outside. Our family didn't own a lot of land. We were very poor. Part of my story is that for a time, we didn't have a place to live. My family was homeless after a house being foreclosed. So we had little stints of time where we stayed with other people. And trying to understand what brought us to that place, not just that specific place, but that place in our relationship with land, that we were dependent upon jobs, we're dependent upon there being an economy that can sustain families in the region, and that for a long time in that area, it's been extraction. My great grandfather worked in lumber, in extracting white pine and other lumber from that landscape. My grandfather worked in the mines, but was also a farmer who did, later in his life, he decided to start farming with horses. And so also had a deep love for the land, and those kind of contradictions are things that I'm working through. So I think about healing as a process that we each go through. There's the internal work of facing what brought us here, and then what we need to do to live in the best way we can moving forward. And so for me, that has come to the place that I'm committing myself to joining the resistance to Line 3, in part because it's crossing right where my family settled. But then also in a larger way, I'm interested in getting more and more involved with the local communities in northern Minnesota. There are lots of people who are doing amazing things to try to chart a more sustainable and just future, a transition away from this extraction economy and away from dependence on fossil fuels and foreign companies. And I want to support that work and help lift it up. I want to be part of doing that work. And then raising my two children in a community setting where that is all possible, without the way that the places where I grew up, it seemed like a lot of times it was impossible. There wasn't a whole lot there. And so I left as soon as I could. And so now returning is part of that healing journey. Ramble.
No, that's not. That's beautiful. And it's
Yeah.
just, I've been so inspired by how deeply connected you are to this land. And, like literally your body is made of that dirt, the dirt and the trees that have been torn up, the dirt and the trees that remain there. But also, you said, kind of the absence of enough that you were enculturated to believe about that place and about your life. And I see so much now just being with you at camp and getting to know so many folks there. Just the amazing enough that the abundance literally that has been there the whole time, and now we see with new eyes to see what's always been there.
And that's part of the reason I'm riding my bike too, is that, been thinking a lot about the pace at which we move through a landscape and through our lives, and how these things are connected, and what we can notice or what we're able to to forget because of how we move. And, you know, on a bicycle, you're out in the elements. You know, if it rains like it did yesterday, if you're caught in a hailstorm, you have to find your way to shelter. And you're smelling and hearing and feeling the environment around you in a way that you just don't when you're in a car. And this is not about like hating on cars, because I use a car. There are places I need to go that I can't get on my bicycle, and that sort of thing. But I encourage people to slow down. And there are lots of ways to do that. You can do that by just walking, you know, with intention, paying attention to the other beings that are around you, the plants by your feet. And if you don't know them, that's okay. I think for a lot of people, there's a little bit of maybe a fear or a shame about what we don't know about the place that we live. So it's like, if you can't identify that plant, you feel a little bit like you should know more, but you can always ask, you can always find that and build that connection. And so just encouraging myself and other people to keep trying, keep doing that work. And slowly if you need to.
You're really good at that. You're really good at modeling that and inviting people into that. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Thank you, because I've experienced healing because of you, you know? And
Same.
And yeah, fast healing. Well, I think what I'll do is
yeah, you want to see someone else up
we
here?
can invite
I
anybody
go
else who wants to
a cup of
share.
coffee?
Yeah, anybody here?
I'll share.
Yeah,
yay.
awesome.
And
Alexander's
also
gonna
share about what you're doing on this journey, because it's so interesting to me how, you know, a number of us have had this idea to travel across this line for different reasons and with different ways of observing and immersing ourselves. And I'm just learning so much from Alexander. So
awesome.
I'm going to move
It's a
out
great
of the
intro.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
don't mind mentioning to people that they can share a story about how they're healing in their bodies, just the folks who are here. Just saying if they want to share that they
The
can.
one sitting around here.
Yeah, so if you could
Yeah.
like and inside.
Yeah, I'll tell them inside. I'm going to go in and get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, please. Please.
All right. Thank you. It was beautiful to share this digital space with folks.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Alexander, those are great shades, first off. And it's been awesome to just get to meet you. And met you on Friday. You had just returned with Jordan carrying a couple catfish. And yesterday you cooked us on our route of, you know, the 75 miles that we put in. You guys were there to rescue us when we needed to be rescued. You also fed us some of the most delicious turkey that you just harvested from the land the week prior, and some ramps. They were so delicious, cooked on the side of the road. So thank you for embodying just in your hospitality, you know, the enough that we're surrounded by. And it's there. And I can't wait till after this to go like explore, because I thought I saw some chaga down there actually right there. So we'll go explore later. But yeah, tell us how you're experiencing healing in your body and maybe what you're up to with all this.
Absolutely. So I'm Alexander Amen. I own a small cinematography and drone company called New Era 4K. And basically a lot of the work that we do has something to do with connecting with the environment, whether it's through education or you know, just kind of sharing visuals with folks about the outdoor environment. And so water and healing in this journey that I've been on kind of all comes together through well, finding purpose with protecting the environment. And so kind of having a reason to be, you know, on this earth and like identifying with like, you know, like being a human and being on this earth is for me is, you know, finding wildlife and finding wild edibles and connecting with you know, through hunting, through fishing, swimming and being out on the boat. That's all kind of something that is kind of a part of my culture as a Minnesotan. and well, kind of just continuing to learn through walking through the woods, finding different things that are growing here, and they're growing here because our environment is really healthy here in Minnesota. We're really blessed with like a lot of different ecosystems and a lot of different filters through our wetlands, and it's not something that's found in a lot of places on Earth. And we have kind of like a really great water resource. We're rich with water here, and so healing for me has kind of been a reason to protect what I have come to know and love, and that's this Minnesota lake life. That's this Minnesota water, and once we find our purpose, once we find a reason to be around, it's really it is the reason. It's like it's why we're here, and so we're organizing an environmental awareness bike ride. It's a Minnesota appreciation bike ride called Ride the Line, and it's a 4-day event. It's going on in mid-July, so July 15th through the 19th, and we're going to be kind of highlighting the rivers, like streams, that makes Minnesota beautiful. And it's going to be going from Halleck, Minnesota to Duluth, Minnesota. Each day, it's about 70 miles on the bike. We're encouraging people to come out and do it relay style or do the long distance individually. And we have like a little bit of music and a little bit of kind of messaging, and we're just trying to get people out and enjoying the environment in a slow ride way. And so, well, on this trip that we've been able to follow Shanai with Ride the Rivers, we're following the Line 3 oil pipeline, and my good friend Jordan and I, so Jordan of By Darls is a videographer as well. We teamed up and basically we are trying to highlight some of the wild edibles that are along this route, and also get some of the stories of individuals as we're traveling. We're talking to locals. We're asking, what's it like growing up next to the river? What was it like fishing with grandma, or what was it like going swimming in the lake, or just trying to get people to connect back with themselves and have that connection to water, because it's something we can pretty easily forget somehow, and trying to establish those connections. And so along this route, we've been, for instance, at the water protector camp in Palisade, Minnesota, right where the proposed crossing of the Mississippi River. There's like a field of wild edibles. There's these wild leeks. Some people call them ramps. It's basically like kind of like an onion garlic, and it's growing extremely healthy. The soil right there is so healthy, and it's a kind of a unique organism because it takes 5 years for it to just come up once. So it takes really undamaged soil. You can't be tilling it. You can't be having chemicals, or it really takes a specific environment to be able to produce these, and they're just abundant there. And so it's a reason, again, it's a reason to be protecting it. That's what healing is for me. And so so along this route, we're eating all sorts of different things that are coming from the land. We found some fiddleheads, haven't cooked them up yet, but we're going to be getting to that this week here. So fiddleheads is another thing that it takes a really healthy land to be able to produce. It's just food that comes from the ground without any planting, without any human interaction. It's just something rare that doesn't happen all over the world. And so yesterday we stopped and we had a turkey lunch. Basically, we had
So good.
we
So
had
good.
harvested a turkey last week just north of Mille Lacs Lake, and we cooked it up, and everybody was able to fuel themselves with some Minnesota local wild raised animal, and we put some of the leeks, the ramps on top of it, and so you had some greens, kind of like a garlic in there, and it was it's nice and moist, and seemed like it was all gone. So
It was really good.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Alexander, just for the way you're, one, helping tell the story, but two, just again embodying it, and how you guys, you and Jordan on this particular trip have really made it a point to live close to the land and eat from it. And yeah, I mean, it'll continue. So, and if we'll be sure to post about the ride.
Yep.
And
ridetheline3.com, ridetheline3.com.
Nice.
And check it out on Facebook.
Yeah.
Get
Cool.
connected with us.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Anybody else? Dan the man.
Hey, Dan Engelhardt here. Just wanted to. I'm a union person. I'm a union. My title is business agent, but I call myself an organizer. Live in Minneapolis. Rode a bit yesterday, 40 some miles. It's really remote where this pipeline is going through. Forest roads, soft sugar sand. Beautiful country. A lot of wetlands. You heard Alexander talk about that. I got my start kind of woke up a little bit about the value of unions in the laborers union, doing demolition work. I got scars in my body from that. It's kind of how I met Shanai in a way. She was, I was talking about Edison High School and flooding in Northeast Minneapolis, and she was talking about that really being a climate change event. And I didn't realize that at the time until Shanai brought that up. So that's my, I started out as an organizer actually on water issues. I thought that, everybody could kind of unite on the need for clean air and clean water, and got a little frustrated.
What's that about?
Movement or the lack thereof, and found myself landing with a career as a union professional. I've negotiated contracts and organized folks. And what's hard is we hear with these, this, whether it's this pipeline or non-ferrous mining here in Minnesota. Sometimes I would call it, sulfide mining, because you end up with a sulfuric acid pit that is supposed to be the mining company's responsibility for 500 to 700 years in a wet environment. It's never been done safely. It's just dangerous. And then of course the pipeline is tar sands bitumen, from Canada, designed for export. So people get confused and they say, this is, oh, you drove a car here. This isn't for automobiles. This isn't for anything in the United States even. And it's just a risk for our water. And then they talk about jobs and union jobs, and we have the building trades, fighting for these sort of things. They're not local jobs. They're at best a third local. These are pipeline workers that follow this kind of work, and they're not sustainable. So it's just sad to see the building trades and labor kind of divided on basic human needs, clean water. And then talking, to come back to the healing body, talked about scars in my body and kind of growing up to football player and dealing with masculinity. And that's something thinking about when you see these workers and biking through just how remote it is. They end up in, call them man camps, or just there's no lodging, so and there's nothing to do. And as a result, we men do shitty things. It's got to stop. Thanks.
Thanks for the vulnerability there. Looks like Mike's ready to come share a story.
Mike's of America.
Mike's of America. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thanks for hosting this thing.
Thanks for the soup and the delicious bread last night too, after a long ride. That
Absolutely.
was amazing.
Happy to share, and that's the part of the abundance thing that everybody talks about. And you think, you need to have corn or beans at every meal. That's not true. We'd do a lot better if we wouldn't. So I've my own life, I've found that I've been a big dairy addict for a long time, and corn has really become something that I realized that I don't do well with it. And that's probably not the corn's fault. Obviously, plants don't do nefarious things. It's what we do to the plants. And corn is is a vessel for a lot of chemicals. So if you're eating commercial corn, you're not doing yourself any favors. And of course, that's also feedstock for our animals. But as far as healing goes, I'd have to say, you know, aside from avoiding those two things, my joints all feel better. But the thing that I really wanted to point out is that being in community with water protectors has been very psychically comforting for me, and it's helped me. You know, there's so many things that we get frustrated with when you understand part of the natural world and what's going wrong, and you think, well, everybody understands, and that's just not true. And it's probably not going to be. It's very mentally satisfying to be around people who have like minds, and this is this bunch here is very accommodating for me in that way. And I think if folks want to come north and experience that, that'd probably be a good thing to do. There's a lot of when you show solidarity with the people around the different camps and the people that show up to show solidarity, it's a big deal. The community is growing. The problems are growing too. So kind of proportional there, I guess. And that it's, if you have time to come north, please do. And we're right at that peak of the season where the things are starting to green up, and there aren't too many bugs right now. And there's another point I really would like to make, is that I hit some bugs with my windshield yesterday. And for those of us who are old enough, we remember when you used to have a bug screen on the front of your hood, and that would drive the wind up and over and carry the bugs past your windshield. And we even used to have screens on the front of our radiators that we would pull off every once in a while and clean, because we had so many bugs. Like if you remember, mayfly hatches next to Mille Lacs or Leech Lake or Cass Lake, something like that. It's a necessary thing. With the advent of the insect apocalypse, you can't find a bug screen on Amazon. If you wanted to buy one, you have to go to somebody who has antique cars and say, I want a bug screen. So that's when you look at, I think I heard, gosh, I'm trying to remember who it was, talk about chemical rain. Is it Masanobu Fukuoka? Japanese farmer. He's written a few books. But he called what we do in America with our commercial agriculture chemical rain. And that kind of struck me here the other day, that we've been in the midst of a chemical storm for some time. And I would like to think that we're coming down off the apex of that storm's activity. And as people realize what's in their food and what should be avoided, I think we're moving forward there. And oil is where all the chemicals come from. So if you're not pulling oil out of the ground, and whatever you can do to limit your use of that, plastic and all these other things, it's going to, one step at a time. And if everybody takes one step, then that's a lot of stepping.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for all you do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you, Mike, for speaking of it as process, and to be in process and to be active and the small steps, but also testifying to how that's healing your own body. This is what we get to do together. So anybody else have a story to share about how they're experiencing healing in their bodies? Oh yeah, Sarah, please. And yeah, so I remember a bug screen on my way up from the Twin Cities area to Backus, to come visit your country, and on the old Dodge minivan, loaded up. And yeah, that's right. I don't need to clean my windshield like I used to.
Sad.
Yeah. All right. So be afraid of the absence of bugs and let that fear be processed in your body into care. How about that? Sarah,
Hi.
welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks for sharing a little bit about the really cool stuff that you're up to, and maybe how you're experiencing healing in your body through all that.
Well, I think healing in the body takes attention and patience for sure. And so what I'm doing is listening to every water crossing along the new portion of line 3. And I use hydrophones, underwater microphones to record that water. And there's a lot of them. There are a lot of crossings and I'm trying to capture them all. I mean, really, ideally, I guess one would sit and listen for an hour. It's constantly changing, never repeating in every body of water, no matter how small or large, is different sounding. And so I've done a lot of that. I'm from the Iron Range in Minnesota, from Hibbing, which is a region built on iron mining, other extraction industry. And I've done a project surrounding that region too that involves environmental recordings and listening. So I'm really a proponent of deep listening when we use our ears or one of our senses, but in this case, our ears, completely and really listen with intention. Our brains just shut off and we're almost, after a while can enter a meditative state or just don't have room for anything else. And so I think listening to environment is one way of drawing ourselves closer and noticing and being. So that's what I'm up to.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we'll find ways if some of the recording work that you're up to on this project, but also others, if there's ways we can share it, we'd love to get that to help people experience in their ears, which are connected to the rest of their body, some of the healing work that you are in the midst of for your own self, but also for those who will hear it. So
Yeah, we'll definitely have them online, but I also just want to say that go out and listen, wherever you are. You can do that all the time. You don't need me or anyone else to curate that for you.
Speak truth. Thank you for that invitation. Yeah. Awesome. Sarah, thanks. Anybody else? Anybody inside?
Some of our folks will be arriving, but I'm not sure exactly when. We probably like to talk to you, but maybe I don't know if it's going to happen on this webcast.
Cool. Well, maybe we can draw this portion of it to a close and we can maybe record those and share them in another way at a different time.
We'll be recording some interviews. I think Sarah's going to be listening.
Awesome. So there'll be more stories to come. Thank you for joining us in this, and thank you for your patience as we, as these bodies heal, and some of that promptness of timing and figuring out technology. Thanks for being patient with all that. I hope today you can get by water, and maybe you can listen, and you can breathe. Maybe you can dip your toes in. It's a beautiful Minnesota day. And maybe feeling that water on your toes, you can allow yourself to be filled with that gratitude. And maybe if you listen deeply, maybe you'll know that one next step that you get to take, and you can take it today. So happy fishing opener to everybody. Don't care for the water. Fishing openers are going to suck. So if that's your jam, there's one more reason. Get going, get healing, and maybe we can just close with the breath. And yeah, got an invitation from the chat here. So maybe just getting into our bodies, noticing again, breathing. I'll say it again, from the Judeo-Christian tradition that is a part of my life. Jesus talks about himself as living water. and what healing I am learning from Anishinaabe grandmothers who have taught us that water is life. Nibi. It's life, and it's flowing in our bodies. And we can care for this water, because poisoned water is not living water. Poisoned water is dying water. And the sun is shining. It's shining down enough, the enough that's always been here, the enough that will continue, that we can help allow, and we can help ensure through care and through love and through action. So I hope you know today, as you breathe, maybe dip your toes in the water, that you could be reminded of the water that is life flowing through your body, and that you could feel the sun or feel the breeze, and then it would remind you of the enough that is here. And I pray that that enough would help you fall more deeply in love. So with that, I'll close this out and just say thank you for tuning in. And I'm sure we'll be posting links and other videos potentially here in the near future. Thanks for the time, and remember that water is life. And, we'll see y'all. See y'all by the river.